Well, hello everyone and welcome. Today, like the title says, we're going to be comparing the same record. It's a Blue Note title. It was pressed just recently now in 2020 on 180 gram 33 1/3 vinyl. And around 08 it was reissued by Analog Productions on a double 45 RPM vinyl. So these records now, the new ones, the ones that are, these are remastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. These were remastered by Kevin Gray at Acoustech with Steve Hoffman. So you can see that on there. Of course, these are 45, these are 33. But they use the same master tape, and it's the same mastering engineer. The difference being, these are 45, these are 33. These were pressed at Analog Productions. These were pressed at Optimal in Germany. And another thing, these retail for $50 when they're new, and these retail for $25 when they're new. And then again, of course, you got two records at 45 versus one record. Now, folks like me, we don't mind the 45 RPM record because they just sound so much better. I don't mind getting up more and flipping it because it's more enjoyable. But for a lot of folks, they don't like having to get up and flip records. Well, what if we could get a record that was 33 1/3 and it sounded as good as the 45 when we didn't have to get up and flip? Right. That's like the best of both worlds, right? So these records now, just to clear it up, they're mastered by Kevin Gray. The lacquers are cut at Coherent Audio. They send the lacquers to RTI. They are plated over there. The lacquers are plated at RTI. Then they send the plates to Germany at Optimal. Optimal is a really good place. They make really good records. They don't do really good remastering because they're digital domain stuff over there. But that's why Blue Note, Kevin Gray and all of them said, listen, if I'm going to go to all the trouble and you're going to send them over there to Germany, we need to make the plates here, because we can't trust Optimal to do a good job of that. So if you really want the best sound quality, we've got to do the plating here. So that's what they did. And what they did with this, Kevin Gray and Steve Hoffman, they made the lacquer and they plated it in-house over at RTI, and I think then they sent the plates over to Quality Records. So AP was had a pressing plant. No, they didn't master records, and they didn't plate records over there yet, which they can do it now, but they weren't back then those days. And that's why Chad Kasem, he was responsible for Acoustech over there. He wanted a place where he could get a master tape and he could send it somewhere and he could get a really, really good record made. So he didn't have to go to Sterling to get the tape and then send it to RTI to get the plated and the records pressed at RTI. They could do it all at RTI. But since he had his own pressing plant at this point, this was our 07, 08, I believe, when they started doing this. Blue Note, they gave the rights to Chad Kasem over there at Acoustic Sounds, as well as they gave the rights to Music Matters. They gave them the rights to certain titles. Now they didn't get the same titles. They got the right to produce, reissue some Blue Note titles. Music Matters got some titles, and Analog Productions got some titles. Now the thing about the 45 RPM over what Chad did, which the covers are nice and shiny, but it's a single cover with the two records inside, right? And Music Matters did the gatefold on the Stroughton jackets. Over there, they're made in the City of Industry in California. You know, those nice Stroughton tip-on with the gatefold covers. That was done a lot nicer by Music Matters. But we're talking about the sound quality today, because the new these new 80th anniversary records that we're talking about today, they retail for $25, and you can get them cheaper. There's places that sell them cheaper than that. And I got all these records at Target when they had buy two get one free, and I ended up paying altogether. I had a Tone Poet in there, an AP, you know, recent Verb. You know, these are like $35 records, and they all together they ended up to be $15 each. So yeah, you can, if you get the right sales, you can get these records at a good price. So now, one other thing I wanted to talk about just recently was announced. It's like, why do we need to know about these 80th anniversary records? What's the big deal about these records? Well, like I said, they're 33 and they're $25 versus the 50. And if you've been paying attention to some of these 45 RPMs that are done by Music Matters and Analog Productions, a lot of them are out of print and they're going for $100 or $200 and $300. Well, now they're starting to reissue some of this stuff on this 80th anniversary and the Tone Poets. They haven't done a lot of duplication yet, but they're starting to. And for those of you that don't know, between now and July, they're going to release 2 a month. And they are, they're calling them the Classic Vinyl Series, the Blue Note Classic, the classics from Blue Note catalog. They will include, coming up in December, they're starting for pre-order now, you can pre-order them now, Lee Morgan, the Sidewinder, McCoy Tyner, The Real McCoy, then Horace Silver, Song for My Father, Wayne Shorter, Speak No Evil, Cannonball Adderley, Something Else, Joe Henderson, Page One, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, Moanin'. Right, all these things, they're going for big money now, these records, as you've been paying attention. Hank Moberly, Soul Station, Sonny Clark, Cool Struttin', I don't even have that one. Jimmy Smith, Back at the Chicken Shack, I don't have that either. Dexter Gordon, Go, I mean, that's a classic. Grant Green, Idle Moments, Kenny Burrell, Midnight Blue, that's another one I don't have. Freddie Hubbard, Ready for Freddie. Herbie Hancock, Maiden Voyage, and that's going to be in July, the last couple. So boy, there's a lot of really good records that they're going to put out. And they're going to come out on this 80th anniversary where they do have just the single type cover. And they're not shiny. It's more kind of basically what you would have got if you bought the original Blue Note record back in the day. This is the kind of cover that you probably were going to get. Just a single cover, no gatefold. And but they were pressed in the United States, of course. Okay, so Ron, come on now. What's going on? Which one's better? Which one's worse? Tell me about it. What's the big deal? So I did quite a bit of listening at first, and I was hard pressed to actually even hear a difference. So I did it, I don't know, I listened to 3-4 different songs, 4, 5, 6 different times each. Then this morning I said, you know what, I really want to make a video about that, so I need to figure it out. So I listened to this one and the other back and forth. It's just the same song now, just the first part of the record. And I kind of was wondering, maybe this one's a little bit louder because this one was sounding better. Right. What did I notice? What sounded better? Well, I could hear on the cymbals kind of like more of the stick, more of the attack, more of the hit, a little more of the shimmer. And same thing with the horn. On the horn and the saxophone, a little more of that reed, you know, a little more of the inner detail is coming through, as well as on the trumpet, it's a little more of an attack on the notes, and there's a little more inner detail in there as well. It's kind of what you might want to think, if it's turned up louder, that's more of the things that come out more when you have it at low volume versus a little bit louder volume. But no, the rest of the bass and all the other stuff was the same volume. It's just that those leading edges, the attacks, those things seem to be really grab your attention more. And then as you listen, you know, even the shimmer of the cymbals on this record, this record sounds phenomenal. They do. I mean, if you go to the Analog Productions website, they got many awards for this, the sounding, these records, the way they sounded. People said, it's the best sounding record in my collection. I've got like 2,000 records. These records sound fantastic. So I was hoping that these 80th issues would be close, because I do know, you know, you've got a different mastering lab. You've got the same guy mastering the records, but this is the old mastering lab, and this is Kevin Gray's new mastering lab. And I had heard something about the Music Matters when he started selling them on his own, and said that, you know, the dealers couldn't get him anymore. There was a point there where they had one that was issued on the 45 RPM, and it was pressed, it was remastered at Acoustic, pressed at RTI. Then he reissued it again, but now when Kevin Gray went to Coherent, they reissued it on 33. And people in some of the forums that I had read here, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, they had said, why did the 33 sound better than the 45 of the same title? So I guess it's because Coherent is a lot better mastering facility than Acoustic. And we all know Acoustic made great records over there. They did. So how much better is it? It's a little teeny bit better. But hey, that's great news. It's not worse than these things. It's not, you know, like the red-headed stepchild kind of thing, right? It's not. They're just as good as these 45 RPMs. You don't have to get up and flip them over all the time. Like, there's not one song on a side. You know, you've got 3 songs on the side instead of one. The one LP on here is basically one side of the record over here. So that's good. You can listen to it longer. But what we're mainly interested in is, how's the sound? Very good. And the quality of the vinyl, the noise, the background noise. You know how Analog Productions, how their records are so quiet, right? Well, that's another thing Optimal's known for. I didn't hear any difference in the background noise. They're not perfectly whisper quiet like a CD. There's a tad in there, a little bit, but you don't hear it. I mean, it's very good. Not like some of them cheaper vinyl formulations where you hear all that. No. Very quiet. Both are very quiet. And like I said, I paid $15 for this record because I got it on sale. They're going to go for $25, and I think right now at Target you can go and Lee Morgan Sidewinder they're selling it for $20.99 on pre-order. So I hope that satisfies your interest. Hope I answered the questions properly. Let me know